Hi, Frankie. Welcome to today's student interview. How are you today?
Hey, Salisha, it's awesome to be here. So thank you for having me.
Great, great. Where are you calling from today?
Right now, I'm in Germany as part of like we had talked about a little bit off air. I've been on a 2-year world travel, so this is probably about the 30th country I've been to.
Wonderful. So, thank you for your time and joining us today. And let's just change up today's student interview because you have had some wonderful wins. So, if you'd like, can we get right into that?
Yeah, please, let's go for it.
Awesome. All right. So, one of the things that has really inspired many of us is this one right here. Yeah. So, you say that a year ago you saw Peter in the Canary Islands of Spain and manifested $10,000 a few days later. All right. So, before we even jump into that, when you say manifested, are you a believer of the law of attraction?
Well, for me, I mean, I've experienced it so many times that I don't. It's probably beyond a belief for me. It's just like how it is. But I can see. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would say yes. Yes, I'm a believer in it.
So basically, you think it's just a science, right? It's like it's not really a belief, but it's something that just occurs. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I operate personally from a place of like, we create our own realities. And so the signal you're giving out is what's going to come back as so within, so without.
Okay, wonderful. So, um, you said that you saw Peter, right? And you manifested $10,000. What was it that Peter and you spoke about, or what did you take away from this meeting that has led you to this? If you can share some techniques he shared with you.
Yeah, and it was really really interesting too because I got a chance to do like the Source Hacker program before everybody else because just being a friend of Peter's, we were going over all the different things that had worked for us and people we knew, and so forth. And we had reached a place in Spain where we were having a lot of fun, but I needed some money to keep our travels going, and one of the things was I knew that if I could just, in many ways, there's a really awesome quote from the Bible. Not that I'm advocating the Bible, but it says, like, believe you have received and you shall, kind of thing. And so I was really kind of in a place of just focusing on that I had, received a client or something or some money or some forth. But I had all these energies that were kind of blocking me. And I think a big part of it is like, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like we just grew up dirt poor. Like my family was always like, what do you think we are, made of money? And I remember like every year there was a $40 registration fee at my school. And I remember every year my mom got upset about it. Like, how much? So like for me, I had like a lot of just negative beliefs about those things. And Peter sat down and we actually did a session on something, in the program called memory flipping, which is where you kind of like use your imagination and stuff to rewrite your past. And I was like, that's so simple, right? Because it's my own mind, my own story. Why do I have to keep telling myself that I grew up poor and life is hard and money is hard and it's such a struggle? And so I decided to just be really, really kind of playful, and all the things that had kind of been standing in my way to like, manifesting, I just um, had way more fun with. And I rewrote my past and saw myself like, having all these successes. And as well, it allowed me to better center or remember all the times things had gone right, and all the times like money had been abundant in my life. And so I did that, and then I had a client who reached out to me a couple of days later and was like, hey, I'm doing this online marketing funnel, you're the one I need help with, I'm willing to pay you, $10,000, are you interested? And of course, for me that was like a no-brainer, but it had been a result of kind of clearing myself up and just holding that kind of steady energy in that one place.
Awesome. That's absolutely amazing. I can totally relate with what you're saying. Um,
Mhm.
so when Peter first told you about memory flipping, what was your first thoughts? Did you think like, hey, is this guy crazy? Did you actually believe in the concept of memory flipping?
Um, Well, to be honest, I was probably more open to it because it came from Peter. Like I had
Mm-hmm.
met Peter a couple of years earlier at a mastermind, a very high level group of just some really amazing people. So, if he says it was working for him, I'm like, okay, I'll try it and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And and for me, it was more just like it just made a lot of sense at the time and place I was in my life because I'd been struggling with all these kind of like internal blockages and challenges. It was like, what if you could just rewrite them in your mind and make them more fun and it's your life and your story and I think like as humans we have this capacity to that like we're trained to remember all the bad things that have happened to us in life and beat ourselves up. And so for
Sure.
me, it was just like flipping the switch on that and remembering all the good things and even taking the bad things. And even if, I couldn't change an event, I could change how I saw the event
Mm-hmm.
within
That's
itself.
the
And
thing,
so,
right? Yeah.
yeah. And so it was like, it allowed me just to not make my past and the challenges that were kind of in the way to blocking certain manifestations, just not such a big deal. And so, I don't know. We actually just tried a session right then and there, and he was like, "I'm thinking about he had mentioned the whole course he was putting together and said, do you want to try it?" And I was like, "Why not?" And we did a session there, and he had mentioned he had been doing it for a few weeks and the results that he had been having, and I don't know, I really liked it, so I kept doing it.
Fantastic. Yeah, when I first saw the webinar about memory flipping, etc., I honestly thought it was a bunch of BS, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
I basically joined the program because of, identity shifting. I'm all the believer of change yourself, then,
yeah.
your reality changes. But I had no idea that memory flipping was a big part of it. And that's the how you get into your subconscious mind and actually, rewire your brain. So yeah, so memory flipping is one of the best techniques and modules that he teaches to identity shift, right, in the course. What would you say to people like myself who were a skeptic on memory flipping? What advice would you give them? Because there's a lot of people who are not really, keen on this idea, and they believe that, oh, you cannot change your past. What advice would you offer them?
Well, there's some truth to that you can't change your past, but what is I think forgotten in all that is that there's two levels to it. There's what actually happened, and then there's your perception of what happened and how you feel and how you relate to that. And that second part of it is very much fluid and not static and changeable and able to be rewritten at any given moment. And it can be lighter and more fun and not so serious and not mean so much to you. Something as simple as, like, for example, for me, like when I was going through my kind of memory flipping process, so like I told you, I just had my head beat for like 20 years. Like, we just don't have money, we're poor, that's how life is, we can't afford it, what do you think I am made of money? And it was really, really easy, like when I just rewrote it in my memory, like, well, that's my mom's story about money, that's my family's story about money, it doesn't have to be my own, right? So without even realizing it, like in my perception, I had taken on all those beliefs and all those ways of looking at it. But when you start to flip the memory and you just go, okay, well, that's how she sees it, and I begin to feel more lighthearted about it. And it never meant anything about me. And there's also other people in realities who grew up as trust fund babies with $100 million before they were 3, who feel very differently about
Mm-hmm.
money. And so there's no permanent reality that says if you grow up poor, you're going to be poor the rest of your life and you can't create money. So, like, for me, it was just making that mean more about how the other person felt about their reality, and not so much that would be my fate and my history, and not to take on all that stuff. And so, I get why people would be skeptical, because it sounds strange that you can like totally rewrite your past. But I really do believe, even when you can't like change how the event is in your mind, you can change how you relate to it. And it's amazing how it has profound effects. Is like, for me, it allowed me to detach with all like what I would call like just poverty thinking that I grew up with, that made it sound like life had to be hard, money had to be a struggle. Like in my new beliefs, it's very different. But before I had done some of this stuff, the idea that you could just snap $10,000
Mm-hmm.
manifest out of the air, and it's not the only time I've done it either.
Mm-hmm.
um, would probably seem impossible, but to me, it's just like how it is now. And a big part of that is just changing your whole past by changing how you perceive it. And so I think there's, for everybody, there's all these trauma and blocks and things that happen, and they may not be around money, they may be around any number of other things, you know, sexuality, or their health, or a relationship they want, and just feeling alone. And a big part of it is not just, you know, making it mean so much. And for me, like, another thing that came up, I remember, you know, like, how we relate to rejection is another big thing. Is, you know, say you know, I had some memories, like, of trying to meet someone, and I actually, you know, did some memory flipping on my current relationship, where it was like, you know, I thought about all the past relationships I had failed, and all the times, you know, like, girls in my life had rejected me, and I was like, well, you know, maybe that just means we're not a fit. Maybe that just means I was in a different place. Maybe that means I didn't come out across very confident or
Mm,
sure of myself. And maybe it has nothing to do with what I had made it mean, which is I'm not good enough, or nobody wants me, or I'm always going to be alone, and those kind of things. And when you start to shift that and not make it mean something, it's amazing how you just stop carrying that forward in the future, and you become a different person, the kind of person who can bring in somebody. And I've actually had an amazing relationship for the last 2 years with the woman of my dreams. So a big part of that had to do with just changing, you know, like, all the stories of just years and years and years of
wow.
failure. So
Absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, I totally
yeah,
agree. You know, like, memories are basically the filter that we view our life in, right? And we are
yeah,
in control of the filter that we choose. So
yeah.
that is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so you're a real inspiration to all of us. I mean, you know, money, relationship, and I'm sure health as well. That is the best three things that we want out of life. Would you recommend the Source Hacker program to others?
Well, of course, and yes, and not only would I say, like, I recommend it, but I would say, like, don't just view it as like a course you'd put on a shelf and try, but, like, really, really dive in and do it, and take it to a place where the techniques you're using are, like, integrated into your life in a way where they're like, you're mastering them, because they work and they make such a difference in your life going forward. It's there's no magic bullet where you can just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
do one little memory flip in 5 minutes and all of a sudden everything is great. But when you practice those habits consistently, what you'll find is things just get better, because like you said, you change your identity, you become a new you. And when you just see yourself as the person who has the relationship, or has the money, or has the health, or whatever else it is you want, when you see yourself as that, there's no more resistance inside you, because that's just who you are. And so it's only a matter of time before reality catches up with you and meets you in that place, because you make decisions from that place. So that would be my one little piece of advice, is, like, don't just do it, but, like, really, really do it. Like, really study the materials and
Mm-hmm.
apply them.
Awesome. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Frankie, for your time. And yeah, we really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you guys all for watching.
Bye.